Disclaimer: doll customization is not for children. I am using toxic chemicals as well as sharp and hot tools. Hello my loves, I am Susika and welcome to another episode. In today's episode we are going to make a spring flower fairy. Are you excited? Let's start. This is today's candidate, a Monster High doll. She has light green skin and pointy ears, and she is the perfect candidate for a flower fairy. First, I cut her hair as close to the scalp as possible. Next, I am going to fix her loose joints. For that, I add a drop of super glue to the hip joint, then move the leg until the glue has fully dried. This is very important, or else the super glue would make the joint immobile. I also add a drop of super glue to each knee joint. If one drop of super glue is not enough, repeat this process until the joint is fixed. Next, I bring water to a boil, then soak the doll's head in the hot water for at least 10 minutes. I then carefully remove the head from the neck pack. The hot water has softened the vinyl and the glue inside the head. Be careful not to burn your fingers. With an old screwdriver, I scrape the inside of the doll's head to loosen the glue and the hair roots. I then pull out what is inside the head with needle nose pliers. With a cotton pad soaked in pure acetone, I remove the printed on face. Wear gloves to do this. Next, I am going to reroot the doll's scalp. I am using synthetic doll hair in pink. I first reroot the hairline. I then fill in all the holes in the doll's scalp with doll hair. This process takes many hours, but I think the result is worth it. Take your time doing the reroot. I then spread glue on the hair roots inside the doll's head and let it fully dry. I have prepared the doll's face with 2 layers of Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Flat Sealant Spray. I now add pink soft pastels to her cheeks, chin, nose, forehead and lips. With a soft clean brush I spread the pastels. You can also use a kneaded eraser to remove pastel powder from the face. I then take a white watercolor pencil and color the base of the eyes. I add a layer of sealant spray, then let it dry for 15 minutes. Now I add pastels again. You will need multiple layers of sealant spray and pastels to build up opacity. I also color the corners of the lips with a watercolor pencil. It is best to use watercolor pencils with a high quality because they have stronger pigment. I outline the eyes with a green watercolor pencil. I also dry her eyebrows. After another layer of sealant spray, I add some more white pigment to her eyes. This is going to be the base for the iris color. You will see that I go over the lines multiple times. Here I am adding highlights to her face with a white watercolor pencil. I also add yellow soft pastels to create eyeshadow. After another layer of sealant spray, I sketch the iris in yellow. The upper part of the iris will be light green. I also add some yellow to the eyebrows and I draw the pupils with a black watercolor pencil. Here I darken the lash line with black. I always use black last. After another layer of sealant, I add some more pigment to her iris. And to her lash line. You can fix watercolor lines with a kneaded eraser or with a wet brush. I darken the end of the eyebrows with dark green. After another layer of sealant, I add some more white pigment to the sclera. I also draw some highlights onto her face. Black is a very strong pigment and mistakes with the black watercolor pencils are a bit difficult to fix. So I always use black last. I add some more color to her iris to make them really pop. With a dotting tool and white gouaches I create catch lights. I draw eyelashes with a black watercolor pencil. I add some golden shimmer to her skin. I then seal in the face up with 2 final layers of Mr. Super Clear Sealant Spray. I have prepared the body with 1 to 2 layers of Mr. Super Clear Sealant Spray. Now I add pink soft pastels to her joints. I also add pastels to her back. I then seal in the pastels with a layer of Mr. Super Clear Sealant Spray. Now I am going to work on her outfit. I am using a tulle trim to create an underskirt. I wrap the tulle around the doll's waist multiple times to create a full skirt. For her top, I am going to use sequins. The color of the sequins is the same color as the hair I have used for the doll. This is her top. Now I am adding fabric flowers to the underskirt. I simply attach the fabric flowers with glue and I make sure not to stain the fabric with glue. You have to work clean when adding fabric flowers to the skirt. I'm using different fabric flowers in shades of pink. I add a bit of lace, around her waist. Next, I'm adding charms to the skirt. Now I am adding butterfly wings with hot glue to the back of the doll. Make sure that the hot glue is very hot. I add a necklace when I heat the doll's head with a blow dryer and carefully reattach the head to the doll's neck. And my flower fairy is all done. Say hello to my Leah, the flower spring fairy. I also added a wand and a necklace. I replaced the flocking on the doll's head with a piece of fake grass. Lastly, I added a flower and a charm to her hair. I think she turned out lovely and she's one of my prettiest fairies. I especially like how her eyes pop. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and be creative. Bye.